Gary is asking, it seems difficult at the beginning to identify what the issues in the process are. Liz, could you speak to how you started and how you identify maybe some of the root causes, or what were some of the issues? How did you see the problem for what it was?
Yeah, great question. Um, so my team works on a number of tasks daily, and so one of the things that we started talking, hey, we're gonna look at trying to create a flow, um, and thought, what does everyone know how to do on the team? Because not everyone's cross trained on everything, and or a majority. So let's say it's the 80-20 rule. And looking at it, it was very obvious everyone has learned a key. It's one of the first items they learn when they join the team. Even with John and Sebastian being so new and being 4 weeks in, that was one of the things they were working on daily. um, and so it seemed a good fit to get started. Now I didn't know necessarily there were issues with it, but then when we started mapping it, it was really hard to map, and it really highlighted some of the pain points. So we met as a team, spent that hour to get started, and I was like, "Hey, let's just walk through. Tell me what you're doing. I think I know what you're up to, and like the process and everything. Like I can sit in, I can jump in and help, but I want to hear from you guys." And when I started putting those sticky notes, and sharing my screen, there was a lot going on, and it highlighted that there was something and that it was a good pick. And then from there, we got it fully mapped. It took probably 2.5 sessions. And, they came back and said, oh, we forgot this piece. We need to add it in here and shifting items. And it was like, okay, well, great. Let's add it. We want to be really honest with ourselves. What does it look like? And then I was actually really surprised when I said, okay, well, let's grab a red sticky. You guys all get a vote. Put where you feel you're just feeling the pain. You may have not been, some of these folks don't enter invoices daily. They learned it, but they don't do it regularly. They might have been part of the surge resources sometimes. And a lot of them, I would say 80% put it on the keying part, and feeling the defects there and how they couldn't get it keyed. And it was frustrating. Like, why did I even get this work on my desk if it can't be entered? And so I would say, that's how we proceeded with that and kind of tried to get it orderly a little bit. But then after we implemented some changes, you also felt it when we went to remap it and say, okay, here's our process that we had. I'm just going to show everyone. And then, we made some updates. We're continuously looking at it, but let's just map it. It was a lot easier to map. It was way more clear on what, and everyone had, they're like, oh, it was this XYZ suggestions, because we had defined it too.
That's really cool to hear. I didn't know the answer to that question. I was really intrigued by the prospect of hearing it. Grasping the current condition, for those that have some Toyota Kata background, grasping the current condition is the first thing you do after you identify the challenge, right? And so what I'm hearing is, even though you weren't using Toyota Kata, you were using the let's understand how it's currently working, and do a block diagram or sticky notes or whatever to understand that. And I love what you said. It was really hard because it was really confusing. It was probably multiple people did it different ways, and there wasn't like a good way of doing it. That exercise has been really killer. I've seen that in many places. That works. So I think that could be a good takeaway for some of you is just process map it out. I find for myself, whenever I run into that at cost where there's some weird like outcome that we're like, this sucks, we hate this process is not good, it's usually we can't even draw it, and it takes us 5 minutes to agree with like what's even the first step, and like it's there's something powerful with going through the exercise of just let's actually like draw it out. It doesn't have to be like sticky notes are not very high tech. It's not like an IT solution. It's just let's draw it out and see what we learn.